Episode 5. We open on TV screens in various households around the world, ending on the portable screen in front of John and Martin, showing the opening credit sequence and intro to the show. Then after introductions from the four hosts, we cut to the boys, live in the UK studio. May I be the first to say welcome back, John? The audience cheer.
Thanks very much. It's good to be back.
Now that is something I'm used to saying to a guest who's been on the show before, but of course, John, you're no ordinary guest, are you?
Well, I think it's safe to say that, Ellen.
See, this is going to be something very different for all of us here. Even us seasoned professionals kind of feel like we're sailing in uncharted waters here. Am I right? She looks at her co-hosts who nod and clap as the audience predictably follow. Yeah, it's not so often you get to interview one of the Beatles back from the dead. So hey, how's that been working out for you anyway? You look well. Yeah, for a dead man, you do look really good, John.
Well, this is the thing. I only found out I died about 9 days ago. Before that, the last memory I had was driving home in my limo the night I was killed. Literally, my memory connects the 8th of December 1980 with the 21st of May 2015, as though they were one day after the other.
Now, John, I'm going to come straight out of the box here and say that some of us are a little skeptical, to put it mildly.
Well, I get that. It's totally understandable. I would be, and frankly, I'd want proof before I believed a word of it.
And that, of course, is what we will be getting later in the show. I believe you've taken a DNA test, and am I right in saying they're going to use one of your old teeth to compare the DNA?
Yes, I actually had this tooth removed by my dentist in 1975, and apparently it's owned by another dentist now.
And a Beatles fan, I'm sure.
Yeah, he certainly sounds keen on me. Apparently he wants to clone me from it at some point.
Well, that sounds a little scary.
Yeah, but is it any more scary than a man coming back from the dead after 35 years? So, John, how have you been coping hearing things like that you've been dead for 35 years?
Well, it freaks me out every time I think about it. In fact, there's no way of getting your head around it. I just have to keep saying to myself, it's okay, just roll with it. You're alive now, and that's the main thing. You know, you just have to keep moving forward. Try not to think about what happened before and take each day as it comes. Luckily, I've had Martin here to keep me on an even keel.
And of course, Martin, your cohort and new partner in crime. Not that I'm implying any crime is being committed here. The audience laugh and clap. You are better known as the guy who fell face first into the fireplace on your viral video.
Actually, to me, he's better known as the man who brought me back and gave me a second chance at life.
Thanks, John. Nice to be appreciated, but I guess I'll need to give most of the credit to God, who really did the handiwork here. So, John, can you tell us what God is like?
Oh, that's it, is it? We're off me already, are we? Charming.
I've no idea, Ellen. I've never met the guy.
Actually, I can answer that one. He's just like Morgan Freeman in Bruce Almighty. The audience laugh. Seriously? I think you can tell by the audience reaction here, people are finding this a little hard to believe. Hey, it's true. He visits me regularly when I sleep, and he said he chose that form so I'd recognize him as God, but I just thought he was Morgan Freeman. Do you know how lucky you are that God chooses to visit you regularly? Yeah, I feel very special as it happens, and he's great to talk to. We discuss everything from movies and TV shows to heaven and hell. So, John, what's heaven like?
I couldn't tell you that either. I think that's where I've been this past 35 years, but it's all a blur if I'm honest.
Hold on, you only think that's where you've been? You sure you weren't just living in your mom's basement all this time? Yeah, I think that would have to be quite some facelift if that's the case. Well, we've pretty much confirmed John's been in heaven since his death, has apparently played guitar and sang with the London Boys, who themselves died back in the mid-90s. I'm sorry, who were the London Boys? Some Eurobeat dance music duo who had a few hits in the 80s and 90s. Definitely not Beatles standard, but it would appear John took care of them when they first entered heaven after a fatal car crash.
Now, I gotta say, this all just sounds so utterly ridiculous. Just listen to the laughs you're getting here. I mean, no disrespect, but what would you say to those who think you're just some clever opportunist trying to get hits on your YouTube video to make a quick buck?
Hey, this has never been about money. I have a family and many friends I want to get back to, and this was the only way.
What, the only way was to film a cat playing piano while you sing and your friend trips into a fireplace and starts crying?
Hey, my face went in the fire. I thought I had third-degree burns.
So what would you say to those who think that what you did is just some sick publicity stunt?
Yeah, and what would you say to those who think what you did was just some sick publicity stunt?
I don't follow. I didn't try to cash in on a famous dead celebrity.
Really? So what would you call interviewing the killer of a dead rock star then, eh?
You mean Mark Chapman? That was back in '92.
And that's your only justification for giving publicity to a sick and twisted psychopath, a coward who only murdered me to get famous, and you helped him get that fame. How do you sleep at night? With that, they go to a commercial break. After the break, we cut to viewers in the street watching on a big screen and their opinions on whether John is real or a fraud. Some have a problem with the fact that he hasn't met God and can't remember heaven. Others say that he seems genuine, especially after getting so upset at Larry King for interviewing his killer. When they come back to the studio, Larry King is no longer around. We're back. Well, at least 3 of us are anyway. Now let's see what the phone-in poll is saying right now. Well, Ellen, it currently has viewers split right down the middle, but that's only since your little outburst on poor old Larry. John, how does it feel to know you went up a whole 25% since you attacked Larry King?
It feels great. Now who's next?
Yeah, you only need to attack 2 more of us at 25% each, and you'll be 100% and still have 1 host left.
So who's going to be the last man standing?
It'll be a woman, I guarantee you that.
All the guys laugh and the audience applaud.
So John, since you've been back, have you spoken to Yoko or either of your sons, and has Paul McCartney been in touch?
Well, the thing is, we realised early on that contacting Yoko directly was going to be difficult, as it's not like she still has the same phone number or address, and I can hardly contact her agent and ask to be put through to her saying I'm her husband back from the dead. This has been one of the many reasons to first raise awareness and get publicity, gathering credibility as we go, leading to the ultimate goal to publicly secure proof.
Of course, the DNA test.
Exactly. Then hopefully I'll be able to at least approach Yoko and my sons, and then they'll see it in my eyes that I am the real thing.
Now, I've seen that Yoko is currently saying that you're a fake and she wants nothing to do with any of this. How do you react to that?
Well, it obviously hurts deeply, as she's my soulmate, but I totally understand that she has to distance herself from what must look right now like a fraudster trying to get hold of her money. I do hope she'll agree to meet with me after this DNA test proves me to be telling the truth. I'm hoping everyone will want to meet with me, from my sons to Paul, who, to answer your question, has been too busy being Sir Paul McCartney to get in touch just yet.
Now I have to ask, and I know this will be a question millions out there will want answered. Why did you make your comeback performance with a piano-playing cat?
I think Martin should field this one.
Well, I originally filmed John simply performing Imagine on an acoustic guitar, but after 24 hours, we only had 2 hits on YouTube, and one was from my laptop.
So, there's one other person out there in the world that saw that video. Let's have a manhunt to track that person down.
It wouldn't be much of a manhunt. The other viewer was me on the toilet on his phone. The audience laughed riotously.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say the other viewer was the cat, and he got in contact to see if you were interested in working on a project together. The cat's name is Mr. Beaumont, and he is always on the lookout for interesting projects. He recently completed principal photography directing his first feature film, and is currently busy in the studio remixing Lana Del Rey's next album. That truly is an impressive cat.
Indeed.
Now, John, you famously said that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus. Now, how has God reacted to that?
Right, can we please put this ridiculous misconception to bed? This is 50 years later, and I'm still getting misquoted and taken out of context. Firstly, I've no idea what God thinks, but if he's all-seeing and all-knowing, he won't have a problem with it, because I didn't say it in that way.
You know, I remember seeing old news reports about radio stations at the time telling the teenagers to come to mass burnings of Beatles records and merchandise.
Yeah, just like the people of Germany being told to burn their books by the Nazis.
Well, if they were such a bunch of easily led sheep, the last laugh is on them, because by current eBay prices, they could have paid off their mortgages selling those items now, instead of acting like a bunch of crazies and publicly smashing up records, which would now be worth potentially $10,000 each.
I think those teenagers are now in their 70s, Martin. They wouldn't still be paying off their mortgages.
Hey, I was on your side there, shitbag. What's that all about? What's this, a lover's tiff? Trouble in paradise? No, I tell you what this is. It's the great John Lennon forgetting who his only friend is right now.
Hey, I've got countless friends.
Where?
Well, I guess you got me on that one.
So, John, I want to ask you the next question.
Go on then, ask me anything.
How does it feel being so anti-religion all your life, even outspoken on the subject, and yet you've now been saved by God?
Are you just trying to antagonise me? Why do you want an argument?
Why is this an argument? I asked you a simple question.
Yeah, but you're only saying it to get back at me.
Oh, nicely avoided answering my question.
I'm not avoiding answering.
I'm not avoiding answering.
Now you're just acting like a big kid. You are. No, you are.
You started this.
No, you started this.
I'm sorry, how long have you guys been married? The audience start cheering and whistling, as many have clearly been in arguments just as futile with their significant others. Answer the question, John. Are you an atheist?
Hey, that wasn't even your original question.
Answer it anyway.
Yes, I was an atheist before all this.
Ah, how very interesting. Well, if it pleases the court, I would like to be the first in saying, ha, dick.
Well, then I'd like to remind my esteemed colleague here that this isn't a courtroom, and may I also remind this knob sat next to me that he was also an atheist before God became his new best friend.
Hey, I was merely agnostic.
You realise there's not much difference. It's like saying, well, I may be a murderer, but I'm not a mass murderer.
Well, fiddle-dee-dee. Oh, and just to correct you, I may now be pretty pally with God, but it's you who I consider my new best friend. The audience go, "Ah," as they are, after all, Americans.
Well then, in light of new evidence, if it pleases the court, I would like to have any of my negative comments against my learned knob jockey stricken from the record. Even though he's a dick.
You're a dick!
No, you're a dick!
You know, I don't feel the need to say anything right now. I'm just happy watching them interview each other. The audience cheer and clap. Join us after this commercial break for more wedded bliss. At the yell of cut, Martin desperately runs to the toilet. As he sits down, the cubicle walls pull back and vanish, and the room lights up into a vast expanse of excruciatingly bright white, and he's suddenly in the presence of God. Oh my God, did I just fall asleep on the toilet?
Sorry, did you really think I can only visit you when you're asleep? I'm not the tooth fairy. Hey, much as I love our chats, I've got to be back on TV in a minute, and I was already thinking I might not have enough time to properly wipe. Wow, you do say exactly what you're thinking, don't you?
Hang on, am I even still taking a shit?
And the beat goes on. You're very sharp, actually, aren't you? And you're very blunt.
See, check you out with the quips.
What can I say? It's a God-given talent. You could do stand-up comedy, and you could do sit-down comedy.
Actually, that'd probably be quite funny, taking a toilet on stage and telling jokes while sat on it. I'd watch that.
Now, why does that not surprise me?
Toilet humour. Brum. Martin does a drum flurry for his awesome punchline.
I've created a monster.
I've created one as well. Shall I flush it now, or are you still talking?
I wish you weren't still talking.
I suppose sometimes I do need to gauge a situation before I open my mouth.
No shit.
Sorry, are you still being funny because I'm sat on a toilet?
No, but I just thought of another one. You know, if you did perform comedy while you sit on a toilet, you could call it sitcom.
Oh, right, so you're not funny all the time then?
You know what, Martin? You're the only one I have discussions like this with. I do enjoy it.
I'm special, special, so special, special. I've got to have some of your attention. Give it to me. Are you honestly going to keep singing? Sorry, I get caught up in the moment sometimes. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
Stop singing!
I can't. It's like musical Tourette's.
Well, I guess you need to be going now.
Oh, right. So once again, no help from you then?
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, from the word go, you've pretty much left me on my own to bumble my way through it all.
But I speak to you regularly. I've not left you on your own.
But we only ever talk about trivial things like our favourite TV theme tunes.
And whose decision was that?
Well, I suppose I get chatting and that's the direction I naturally go.
You know, we can talk about anything. You can ask me anything. Go on, right now. Ask me something deep and profound.
Well, I can't think of anything suddenly on the spot.
You mean on the toilet?
Oh my God, I still haven't flushed it.
Yeah, I had noticed. Oh, and by the way, I have given you help. I gave you advice.
Hang on, all you said was get the woman's perspective. Imagine if C-3PO had said get the Wookiee's perspective when they were playing 3D space chess instead of the far more useful let the Wookiee win. Both droids would have had their arms pulled out of their sockets by Chewbacca. Actually, that's really horrible that Chewbacca would have done that. I loved him when I was little, but it kind of makes you realise he's just a big horrible dog, unpredictable and dangerous. 1 minute he's waggling his feet in the air when you tickle his tummy, then he suddenly grows tired of games, and you wake up on an operating table having a face transplant because they couldn't save your nose, lips, cheeks and jaw, because he'd bitten them all off.
You have a beautiful mind, Martin.
Thank you. No one else ever thinks to tell me that. Right, I've got to wipe my ass now. Do you mind looking away?
I'm just gonna go now.
Okie dokie. Cheery bye. You still there? Oh, he's gone. Moments later, Martin is running through the corridors like an awkward bird, flapping his wings as he frantically leaps back into his seat.
That was quick. You've only been gone a minute. Couldn't you find the bog?
I just took a massive shit in that time.
Oh my God, where did you do it?
No, of course I did it in the toilet. Oh, wow, that's considerate. God must have not only paused time for our toilet chat, but also kept it paused after he'd gone and I was wiping up.
Christ alive, do you actually hear the same words that come out of your mouth, or does your brain convert it into poetry or something? Actually, that would have to be quite some filter to remove all the toxins that come out of your mouth.
Oh, pardon me all over the place. A loud voice announces, "Positions, people, and we're back in 5, 4, 3... Here we are back again. Now, Martin, I think a big question on everyone's lips is, why did God pick you?
God only knows. The audience laugh.
Yeah, and we were also hoping he told you so you could tell us. Yes, seriously, has he not said anything about why he chose you to help John Lennon? Actually, it was solely because of me that he brought John Lennon back to life.
Sorry, can people stop talking about me like I'm not here?
So, how did this actually come about? Well, I was talking with my friend George in the pub, and we saw on TV in the background that Mark Chapman, John's killer, was being released from prison after 35 years. Yeah, your friend George doesn't happen to be named George Harrison, does he? The audience laugh. No, his name's actually George Handsome. We call him Handsome George, although it's kind of ironic. It's not like he's ugly, he just ain't no looker, you know? But it's not like it's spelt the same way anyway. Hey, George, Martin waves into the camera, and the audience laugh. Sorry I didn't tell you anything about this, and I've not been answering my phone this past few days. I've been a bit busy with John Lennon and God. The audience laugh even more. That is a pretty good excuse. George will forgive me. He's a good egg. I'll tell you who he looks like. Cliff Richard. If Cliff Richard had melted slightly. He also looks like Tony Blackburn. Does anyone here know who Cliff Richard or Tony Blackburn is? I don't think so. Well, anyway, it's funny because Cliff Richard is very religious, and so is my mate George. He's a devout Catholic. Hang on, what was I even talking about?
I don't know, I think you're finished.
The audience laugh hysterically, like Martin's entire speech had been building to that punchline. All right, that was it. So anyway, I said to my mate George, Handsome? Yeah, that's right. I said to him that if God really existed, he should do something cool like bring John Lennon back to life. And so what? God was listening and he just handed over John Lennon to you? Well, there was no official handing over ceremony or anything. He just brought him back to life in my shower. You know, the same way that Bobby Ewing came back to life in Dallas after he died in the end of season 8 or whatever it was back in 1985. Can you believe they literally turned all 31 episodes of season 9 into a dream just so they could bring him back in season 10? Hey, I bet you didn't know that he stayed dead in Dallas's spin-off show Knots Landing. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, and apparently Knots Landing producers were furious that they hadn't been included in the bringing back of Bobby Ewing, and the two shows severed ties from that point onwards, and Knots Landing continued for another 7 years with Bobby Ewing dead. Did you know that? I did. I just didn't care until now. The audience laugh. So, John, I think the most important question we all want answered is, did you know that Bobby Ewing stayed dead for 7 years in Knots Landing but alive in Dallas? The audience cheer Ellen and John laughs. The Q&A continues with many more moments of irreverence and hilarity, but after some time the questions get more serious. John, can you ever forgive Mark Chapman for robbing you of your life and getting to see your sons grow up? I can categorically say that I will never forgive the man who killed me in cold blood. Did you really think I would? Well, it's been 35 years. Not for me, it hasn't. This has only just happened in my eyes, and what he's done can never be undone.
Can I correct you on that one? You've just been brought back to life by God. That has to constitute as some level of undoing.
Well, of course, yes, and I will be forever grateful. But Mark Chapman had nothing to do with that, and frankly, if I ever get near him, I don't mind admitting I'll happily kill the man in cold blood, just the same way as he did to me, only I won't be spineless and just do it from behind his back. I want to face him and see the life drain out of his body.
The audience are silent and in shock, with only a few murmurs.
Okay, kinda should have seen that coming.
So, John, what happens if Yoko has moved on and is with someone else now?
Well, I'm sure she has moved on, and I'll have to respect that. I just want to see her so badly. She's the love of my life, and it's only days ago to me when she was last in my arms. All I want to do is hold her again, even if it's for the last time.
The audience go, "Oh," but remember they are Americans.
That's beautiful, John, and we all really hope sincerely that you get to do that soon.
So what about your money, John? How does it work with something like this? I mean, now you're back to life. Does it go back to being your money again? Or is it forfeited to Yoko?
Hold on, mate. You're talking like Yoko divorced me. I died, and like I said earlier, this was never about money. I just want my old life back.
But by definition, John, doesn't that very much include getting your money back?
Hey, my life meant a lot more than just money, you know. I don't care if I don't get a penny back.
Hey, you are still going to give me the $1 million from this, though, aren't you? You did promise.
The audience laugh. Absolutely, Martin. I did promise, and what you have done for me is worth more than any amount of money.
Thank you so much, John. That's really touching, and I feel like saying you can just keep the money, as the sentiment is enough. But frankly, I don't even own a car and barely make a living at the best of times. So, Martin, have you always struggled on a limited income? Well, let's just say, Ellen, my life has definitely followed a different path to John's up until now.
Yeah, I think most people's have.
I've never been a man of means. I don't really have anything because I guess I just don't try hard enough at anything. I gave up trying when I was 11. What happened to you when you were 11?
Is that when your dad died, Martin?
No, that was when I was 10. When I was 11, I sent a letter to the Incredible Hulk.
The audience laugh.
Well, really, it was the man who played the Incredible Hulk, Bill Bixby. The audience laughed some more. Well, actually, it was Lou Ferrigno who physically played the Incredible Hulk. Interesting bit of trivia for you. He's the only person to have physically played him. It's all been CGI special effects in the films ever since.
Jesus,
John mutters while he frustratedly puts his hand up to his forehead. Now, Bill Bixby, he played David Banner, the Hulk's alter ego, although I suppose the Hulk would have been David Banner's alter ego. I'm sorry, why did you send Bill Bixby a letter? Oh, yeah, right, sorry. I used to get this comic in the UK called Lookin', which had all the kids' TV show characters in. Now, they printed Bill Bixby's address to send fan mail to, so I did something I'd never done before. I wrote him my first proper letter to anyone. Now, bear in mind, I was in the remedial classes at school. I still didn't write with joined-up handwriting. I was very slow at reading. I had a problem with concentration and, frankly, had lost all focus on everything since my dad's death about 6 months earlier. So, Martin, what did he die of, if you don't mind me asking? The big sea. Oh, cancer. No, the sea. He drowned in the big sea. What? Sorry, I stole that joke from Dudley Moore and Arthur too, On the Rocks. It was too tempting. The audience laugh.
Sorry, was this all a joke?
No, my dad died of cancer and it will affect me for the rest of my life. John, you think about your mum every day, don't you?
Oh, yeah, she was the one who taught me to play my first stringed instrument.
So, how long? What happened to Bill Bixby's letter?
Oh, God, I forgot we were still on that.
Well, after many months of waiting for a reply, my letter just came back address unknown. And I'd written it correctly, exactly how it was printed. That was the one time after my dad died that I went out of my way to achieve something. All I wanted was to get a letter back.
So what, you never found out what happened? Was the address a misprint? I never found out. After that, I kind of lost enthusiasm to do anything above the bare minimum, and unfortunately, I've only ever achieved the bare minimum throughout my life as a result. I've never really achieved anything in this world, well, other than earn the love of a beautiful woman. Don't put yourself down. That's something most guys would give their right arm for. And some girls. The audience get her joke and laugh. Oh, of course you're a lesbian, aren't you? John cringes and puts his head in his hands. The rest of the world joins him in this awkward moment. Wow, you tell it like it is, don't you, Martin? Sorry, I need to use my inner voice sometimes. Even God has remarked upon it. Well, on that bombshell, we go to a commercial break. The moment they call for a commercial break, Martin jumps out of his seat and says, Right, I'm going for a piss.
You sure you don't need another shit?
John says, laughing. Play that one by ear, I think. As Martin pushes the toilet door open and someone walks out, he stands in the empty room, looking left to right, not yet decided on urinal or cubicle. With that, the whole room suddenly bursts with bright white light, and God appears in front of him, saying,
Decisions, decisions. It's okay, Martin. I've paused everything. Now you have all the time in the world.
Oh, thank God.
We have all the time in the world. Time enough to shit or just piss. Now that God's my friend, he pauses time.
Now you can just let your heart decide.
Yeah, although actually I think it'll be my irritable bowels doing most of the decision-making here. Still, nice to hear you singing along and getting into the holy spirit of things. See what I did there?
Yeah, I saw what you did, but I'll take a pass on seeing what you're doing right now.
Nobody should have to see this. God, where's it all coming from? Well, at least I'm losing weight, eh? Oh, incidentally, why do they call you the Holy Spirit?
I've no idea. I'm not a spirit. I'm a deity. I'm the creator.
So pretty much like calling your mum, I don't know, bum instead.
Not really.
What about the Holy Ghost?
No, I'm not a ghost either. I honestly don't know where some of these names come from. Frankly, I pretty much answer to anything now. I know when someone is praying to me or even just talking to me. My name is almost irrelevant.
So what do you think about all these other religions out there? The ones that have got it wrong and don't worship you? I mean, there are so many religions around the world, and they all seem to worship a different god.
They're all worshipping the same God, the Creator. Nobody is wrong. You all have different names for me, different faces for me, and many, many different stories which man has written about me. Some are way off the mark, some are far closer to the truth, but none tell the whole story. They are all just man's interpretation of the one true Creator.
This is a revelation. I mean, so many wars are fought over religion, and yet it turns out they're all on the same side, just fighting over different interpretations of you.
And therein lies the inherent problem with giving man free will.
Sounds like you're saying you wish you hadn't.
Well, there's not much point to life if you don't. Still, that discussion for another time. I'm going to let you go now.
Okie dokie. Oh, hey, can you keep time paused for another 3 minutes, please? Gives me time for a good wipe. Actually, make it 5. I can tell already this one's going to be a right bitch. Never-ending story. Wow. God walks off into the light, quietly laughing.
Everyone is motionless around the studio, and for that matter, all around the world. Even the exhalations from a smoker are frozen in place, almost as if the world had been preserved in some tacky glass paperweight you buy in Lanzarote with a dead goldfish swimming through plastic reeds past a dried-up starfish. John is sat looking at his hands for some reason. With the final wipe of Martin's trouble behind, the world whirs back into motion and John looks up. A pretty young woman wearing square-rimmed glasses holding a clipboard smiles at him, and John gives her a little nod.
All right, love. What's your name?
Courtney.
American, then?
No, English. I was named after Courtney Love.
I've no idea who that is, but I'm a big fan of love.
Love is all you need?
Yeah, a wise man once said. He smiles back.
So are you really John Lennon?
Yeah, apparently so. I don't know, even I question it sometimes.
That's unbelievably cool if you are.
Well, it's not all it's cracked up to be, he says, clearly seeking sympathy and a warm bosom to cry on. I like your glasses. Make you look intelligent.
And who says I'm not intelligent?
She says, flirting blatantly now. Yeah, was that sound man over there? Do you want me to get him for you? He says, chuckling. With that, Martin jumps back in his seat. Did you miss me? Yeah, it's very difficult to miss you. The girl looks away. Bloody hell, I was in there. What, with that little hottie in the glasses? Yes, we had a moment. Oh yeah? Was that the moment you forgot you're still married? Hey, I'm 100% devoted to Yoko. What, like back in 73 when you had an affair with your assistant, May Pang, for 18 months? Would you stop bloody Googling me? Haven't got any secrets from you, have I? Yeah, I think you gave up having secrets the moment you became the famous John Lennon.
Is he really John Lennon?
He certainly is. And I'm Martin Fillery. He leans forward to kiss her hand like something from the 1950s. And you are?
Courtney Meakin.
Hey, stop edging in on my bird. You already got one. The pretty young intern blushes. So have you, says Martin. With that, the countdown is called out and we're back live on air. Welcome back to this last segment of the show, the one I'm sure you'll all agree we've all been waiting for. That's right. Now, John, you took a DNA test earlier today, as we see here, and this test will conclusively prove one way or the other if you are who you say you are, the real John Lennon.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind finding out myself, so I can get my name sewn in the collar of all my shirts, you know. The audience laugh.
Now, we managed to acquire an old tooth of John's, which was removed by his dentist back in the day. Even though it was quite badly decayed, we have successfully managed to get a DNA sample from it to compare. So now it's crunch time. John looks nervous, almost as if he feels there's still a chance he might just be a fake. Conan O'Brien holds up a gold envelope. I hold in my hand the results of John's DNA test. Quite literally, the proof we've all been waiting for. If it comes back positive, it'll be proof that you are the real John Lennon.
It'll be proof a man has really come back from the dead decades after his death.
And biggest of all, it'll answer mankind's oldest question, is there really a God? The audience hush into silence. So Conan, do you want to open the envelope?
No. Frankly, this is all seeming a little too real now, and I'm not sure I want to know.
Jimmy, how about you?
I'm not opening it, he nervously laughs. I'm more bothered I'm going to melt like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when they finally open the Ark of the Covenant.
Only a handful of people laugh. Most are incapacitated by their fear of the result. The world will never be the same if the results are positive. Okay, so leave it to a woman to get anything done round here. There is no reaction from Ellen's flippant quip as she takes the envelope and holds it in her hand and pauses for 5 seconds but feels like an eternity. John then barks out,
Can we hurry this up? I think Martin needs the loo again.
Nervous laughter from a handful of audience members makes barely audible and insignificant cracks in the now unbearable tension. Right. Okay. Here goes. She rips open the envelope and pulls out a card. The world is watching. Those who are religious, regardless of faith, those who are skeptics, and those who are hopeful. Ellen's eyes begin to visibly water and her lip start to quiver. Her mouth slowly opens, but no words yet. She takes a deep breath, but as she tries to get the words out, her voice sounds broken. As she clears the lump in her throat, she only says one thing. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's positive. You are the real John Lennon. Gasps fill the audience as our presenters sit dumbstruck. None can put into words the feelings rushing through their bodies right now. An almost unanimous chill rushes down every spine in the American audience, echoing through the UK studio and around the world via the magic of television. You could hear a pin drop and cut the atmosphere with a knife. With that, John breaks the silence, merely saying,
Well, I hate to say I told you so.
Yeah, nothing truly prepares you for this. We have been telling you all along, mind you, Martin adds. So what next for you, John? What are you hoping for, now you've proved you're the real thing?
I dunno now. I just want my old life back. At least what's left of it.
So will you be going back into music?
Well, it seems like only the other day I was promoting my new album, Double Fantasy. Thing is, it's still new to me, but old news to everyone else now. I guess I'd just like the chance to perform live again.
I think a lot of people would pay to see that. Hey, what about performing with Paul McCartney again?
I was actually meant to be spending time in the studio with Paul the day I was killed. It would have been the first time we'd collaborated together in years. I wasn't even meant to be in New York that whole week, but the studio was booked out.
This is a revelation. You only died because the studio was already booked?
No, Ellen. I died because a spineless freak who just wanted attention felt that killing me was his best way to get it.
Well, I have to say at this point in the show, ladies and gentlemen, we have one final revelation. An ace card up our sleeve, if you will. Conan? Thanks, Jimmy. Now, we had our doubts if we were even going to have use for this card, but on the off chance John did turn out to be telling the truth, we felt there was someone who might want to be here tonight to be given a chance to put things right. Oh, yes. He only came out of prison literally this morning, and we flew him straight here to appear in person tonight to say a very important message to John. After 35 years behind bars, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mark David Chapman. The feeling in the air is like that felt after a bolt of lightning, as the audience immediately sit upright in their seats and start to look at each other in that "this can't be happening" way. Shrieks wave across the crowd as a now 60-year-old and gaunt-faced Mark Chapman walks on stage, waving to his audience as uncomfortably half-hearted cheers are drowned out by boos.
Martin, did you know this was going to happen?
Oh my God, of course not! Now, Mark David Chapman, I understand you have a very special apology that you want to make to John Lennon in person.
You've got to be fucking kidding me!
John, you can't swear on a live broadcast.
Fuck you, you fucking bastards! You brought my fucking killer on air to apologise to me! How the fuck do you expect me to respond to that?
John, calm down. There's no need to get all worked up.
Fuck you two, and fuck you all! You got your fucking freak show, I hope you're happy now. And let me tell you something, Mark David Chapman. You know now you're out. No one will be there to protect you anymore. You're exposed now, you snivelling little prick, and I will stop at nothing to track you down and gut you like a fucking fish, you spineless cunt!
Martin tries to hold John back, and all of a sudden and without warning, God freezes time again.
Oh, Jesus wept!
I'm sorry, what did you just say to me?
I was in the middle of something there.
What did you just say to me? Jesus wept?
Why did you say that? It's an expression? Really? It's a common expression, is it? Well, I mean, it's not something you hear every day. Why would you say something like that to me? This is all turning a bit sour suddenly. How do you expect me to react when I hear you say something like that? I'm kind of wishing I hadn't done now. Yeah, me too. You just said Jesus wept. What do you mean by that? Well, it's like saying, oh, for fuck's sake, isn't it? I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. No, you don't seem to think before you speak. What does it mean? You mean, what does it mean when I don't seem to think before I speak? No! What do you think it means to say Jesus wept? I don't know, because he was nailed to a cross and then died from it? No, it means he cried for Lazarus after his death. Well, how was I meant to know that? I don't know anything about the Bible apart from what I learned from Jesus Christ Superstar, and that was just a school play years ago, and I can only remember a couple of songs from it. I've never seen Last Temptation of Christ or The Passion of the Christ, although I've heard it's really horrible and Mel Gibson made it.
You seem to know nothing, yet you spend your whole life talking. Did you know that after Jesus wept, he resurrected Lazarus?
Really? I didn't know Jesus could also do that. So John isn't the first to be brought back to life then? Have there been loads?
Are you mocking me?
No, seriously, can we just forget I said it now? I will never forget that my son was tortured while everyone watched, and then he was crucified on a cross. Yeah, but I didn't do it. What you said was frankly hateful. I'm sorry, really sorry. Sometimes you go too far. I enjoy our talks, but you've crossed the line. You do realize you've just crossed the line. I don't forget that my son suffered at the hands of man after everything I've done for them.
This is really getting out of hand. This has all gone wrong. Can I go now?
You're going nowhere.
Oh my God!
What? You said my name in vain again. What?
This has all turned really horrible. I don't want this anymore. Can we just stop this now?
No! Have you heard of the wrath of God?
No, I've only heard of the Wrath of Khan. Is it a film?
Do you want to see the wrath of God?
No, I don't want this anymore. Please just leave me alone. Suddenly, Martin is in complete darkness. He just stands there, almost afraid to move, wondering what's going to happen next. With that, there is a sudden burst of light and sound, and he's back in the studio, with John violently kicking off and dragging Martin around the room as he was holding on to him when God last intervened. Martin has a ton of thoughts racing through his mind right now as he struggles to hold back John from smashing up the entire studio. Has God completely turned his back on Martin and just left him to it? Is Martin still going to get the $1 million from the network now the show has turned into a bare-knuckle boxing match with John now smashing up the set? And lastly, will they still get a lift home?